If you've been trying to time the South Florida real estate market, whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just watching from the sidelines, this update is for you. We're breaking down what's happening across all three major counties, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, and we'll look both at the single family and the condo markets. We'll even touch on new development and wrap up by what's going on with the Fed and mortgage rates. By the way, I'm Juan Iarussi with Compass, your South Florida realtor. Without further ado, let's jump in. Let's start with Miami-Dade single-family homes. There were 885 closed sales, down 8% year over year. There were 22.8% of those that were purchased using cash, which is up almost 6% year over year. The median sales price was $655,000, which is up 2.3% year over year. And the percent of list price received was 94%, meaning the discount that buyers are getting. The median time to contract is 51 days, which is up almost 89%, and the months of inventory is 6.4 months, which is up over 36%. Now, despite a drop in closed sales, prices are still climbing, suggesting that inventory is keeping the market competitive. Now let's take a look at condos and townhomes. Closed sales were 903, down 13% year over year. 48% of those purchases were made in cash, which is up almost 10% year over year. And the median sales price was $410,000, down slightly 1.2% year over year. The percent of list price received was 92%, which is down 3% year over year. And the median time to contract was 67 days, up almost 40%. Okay, and here's the big difference between single family and condos. The months of inventory is 14. There's been a noticeable increase in condo inventory this whole year. With months of supply surpassing 1 year, that means at the current rate of sales, it would take 1 year for all the condo inventory to get absorbed. This gives buyers more leverage and options when it comes to negotiating. That's why you're seeing discounts up to 8% from the list price. However, that $1 million and up condo segment is holding strong, particularly in newer condos with more stable pricing, are attracting more cash buyers that see the long-term value in Florida and Miami and ultimately want to stay away from the potential risk of special assessments. Now let's take a look at Broward County. Single-family home market in Broward County, we saw over 1,000 closed sales, which is down slightly less than 13%. The percentage of those transactions that closed in cash was 23%, which is up almost 9%, and the median sales price was actually up $625,000, which is up 3%. The percent of list price received was 95%, meaning buyers got a 5% discount, and the median time to contract was 47 days, which is up 47% to last year. Months of inventory is 5.7, although it is up 26.7% to last year. Homes are still moving quickly. We see there were almost 120 more home sales in Broward than in Dade, with the median time to contract with less than 2 months and a solid 95% list to price ratio being received. We see that the months of inventory, remember, 4 to 6 is a balanced market. Anything under favors the sellers and anything over favors the buyers. And there's less than 6 months of inventory for single family homes. Now let's look at the condo market. For Broward County, the condo market paints a different picture. 974 closed sales, down over 12% year over year. The percent of sales in cash was 52%, which is almost up 10% versus last year. But the median sales price was $247,700, which was down almost 10% year over year. And the percent of list price received was 91%, also down 3% year over year. The median time to contract was 74 days, which is actually up 32% year over year, and the months of inventory, 11.9, up 43.3%. Again, here we see the number of sales are down in the double digits. We see there are more people paying cash, with over 52% of sales being cash, and the median sales price is actually down 10% year over year. We also see that buyers are getting a 10% discount. And I'd be curious to see what these numbers look like if you focus on buildings that are newer, 30 years old versus older condos. Because you see, Miami-Dade has a lot more to offer in terms of condos that are built from the 2000s and up than Broward does, which could be a driving factor here. Now let's talk about Palm Beach County. Single family homes, there were over 1,100 and 30 closed sales, which is actually up 2% year over year. The percent that was paid in cash was 38.7%, down 5.7% year over year. And the median sales price was $630,000, which is actually up 2% year over year. The percent of list price received was 93%, or buyers are getting a 7% discount. The median time to contract is 46 days, which is up 15%, and months of inventory, 5.2, up 10.6%. So Palm Beach saw the most number of sales for single-family homes, beating Broward by 120 sales and Dade by over 200. Now, when it comes to single-family homes, Palm Beach was the only one out of the 3 counties that saw positive number of closings year over year and price appreciation. And buyers are still getting about a 7% discount from the asking price. Condos and townhomes. There were 820 sales, down 4.4 year over year. The percent of those sales that were paid in cash was 55%, which is up 6%. And the median sales price was $285,000, which is down 9.5% year over year. The percent of list price received was 90%, or buyers are getting up to 10% off of the asking. And the median time to contract was 74 days, which is up 45%. The months of inventory is now 9%, which is up 26.8% year over year. Now, this segment is firmly a buyer's market. 9 months of inventory, lower prices, and longer timelines means buyers have more negotiating power. We're seeing some beautiful new development projects coming to Palm Beach County though, and those are performing well. Those numbers are not factored into the ones that are shared here, but keep that in mind. Now let's talk about mortgage rates and the Fed. In late September, the Fed finally made its move, cutting the Fed funds rate by 0.25%, citing slow job growth and softening inflation as key reasons. But here's what's important. Mortgage rates are not directly tied to Fed rates. In fact, in the days leading up to the Fed announcement, the 30-year mortgage rates dropped in anticipation of the Fed's upcoming meeting. But once the cut was announced, rates actually ticked back up. And now they're hovering at around 6.37%. So what does that mean for you? While rates remain volatile and they're tied to economic data, it's not just the Fed that moves it. But the trend is starting to shift downward, and that could bring more buyers back into the market over the coming months. Finally, I want to touch on new construction and international buyers. In Miami alone, over 9,100 new units across 37 developments are in play, ranging from pre-construction to recently delivered towers. And nearly 49% of those units were sold to international buyers over the past 18 months. That includes major activity from Latin America, Europe, and Canada. But in fact, Latin Americans accounted for 89% of international sales for new developments in Palm Beach, 79% in Broward County, and in areas like Coconut Grove and downtown Miami, the numbers are 97 and 99% respectively. Here you can see how influential the international buyers are to our market, and how even with economic and what may seem as political turmoil in the US, these markets continue to propel South Florida real estate as they have for years. In short, new development continues to operate in a lane of its own, with global buyers coming in strong, especially in Brickell, Edgewater, Sunny Isles, downtown. And that matters because this competes with resale and it affects price perception across the board. So here's the takeaway. In Miami-Dade, the single-family home market remains competitive, especially newer construction priced well, as well as newer condos. Broward single-family homes remains steady, but the condo market is softening quite a bit, and that brings opportunities for buyers. And in Palm Beach, while the single-family home market is outperforming its neighbors to the south, the condo market similarly is giving more room for buyers to negotiate. Once again, remember, this is a very broad overview of the market. If you're thinking about buying or selling, or if you just want a read on a particular sector of the market, please don't hesitate to reach out. My information is right here on the screen, or if you'd like, go to the description below and you'll see a calendar link where you can book a time so we can speak one-on-one about what you're looking for and what sector of the market you need help in. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Juan Iarussi. with Compass, your South Florida realtor. I appreciate you sticking through to the end. And remember, as always, stay informed, stay savvy, stay ready, and I'll see you on the next one.